Welcome back to another episode. Now that you've gotten to know deeply some parts of yourself, you might find that some things about your life right now don't actually align with your true values. I know I did. I could finally pinpoint why I felt so off, so burnt out, empty, unfulfilled when I was on the medical path, even though everything looked great from the outside and it was a life that I should have been so grateful for. If there are differences, it can be really, really scary to know what to do about them. This podcast is all about full, radical self acceptance, which allows you to feel unconditional safety, worthiness, peace, and joy, no matter what your outside circumstances. But it's a heck of a lot easier when you align yourself with your values. You can be not where you ideally want to be yet, and still accept yourself and where you are at now because you deeply know that the path you are on right now is aligned with your values. It is possible to hold this duality. It's not either or, as we've been taught or programmed to think. It's really tricky to do this though, so please forgive yourself if you slip back into old patterns or get frustrated that your life isn't what you want it to be and you wonder if you can ever get there or do what you dream of. That doubt creeping in and back and forth is so normal, and it's never a smooth road for anybody. We all come into our true self in our own way, our own style, timing, and pace. Many of us don't even dare to take such a scary adventure, actually, and die without ever trying to get to know ourselves and what we truly want for this life. I want to give you so much kudos if you're still here listening, and especially if you've done some of the exercises from previous episodes. There were a lot, so congrats. If you're currently struggling with your mental health, it might be because you are actively experiencing mistreatment. You're mistreating yourself, or something in your life is not aligned with your values. And of course, it's more complicated than just that. I believe there are biological factors too. And due to genetics, some people are just born with neurochemical imbalances, such as lower serotonin than average. So there's no shame at all for not having a good reason to be depressed or anxious. When you think about it, actually, it is pretty frankly depressing living in the world today where there is so much pain, suffering, strife, and violence around us. And just having to take care of yourself is inherently tough too. Life is full of challenges, hardships, and uncertainties. In fact, I'd argue it'd be weird to not be affected at all by all of this. It's a very normal response to experience anxiety, depression, hopelessness, or an existential crisis at some point with everything that's going on and the inherent uncertainty of life. There is also a lot of good and positive things in the world too. I'm not knocking on the world. It's complicated. The research done on happiness found that there isn't a certain permanent state to your happiness, that there is a certain set point that we have that is determined by our genetics that makes up about 50% of the happiness pie. And then our external circumstances at the time make up 10% of the pie. So that means the other 40% is in our control. And one of the ways that we can boost our happiness is to live more authentically by our genuine values and expressing ourselves fully. There are many other things we can do as well, such as practicing gratitude, random acts of kindness, and mindfulness, being present, which I'll go into more in another episode. Anyway, one of the biggest blocks to us making changes that we deep down really want is fear. Fear of it not working out, fear of it being the wrong move or decision, fear of negative consequences and repercussions. The list goes on, and your unique flavor of fear is definitely unique to you. This is because our brains are really, really, really good at coming up with reasons to stop us from changing. Our subconscious is still ruled by our primitive limbic system, which constantly scans for danger and is only concerned about survival and self-preservation. This kept us alive centuries ago, but in the modern world, it has a lot of drawbacks and limits us when we try to expand beyond just surviving to actually thriving. I know for me, it took me 4 years after I realized medicine wasn't the right fit for me to actually make a change. I had to mentally prepare and wrestle with all of my fears, which took a ton of therapy, books, courses, chatting with mentors further down both paths I was considering, staying versus leaving, and countless painful conversations with my family and friends too. I wish I knew about coaching back then because that probably would have made things faster and easier for me. I had to physically prepare too, financially and materially, by purposely finishing my medical training and saving up enough money as a safety cushion while I took time to figure things out. This was a conscious choice, and for me, it provided me the safety, some more safety than I wanted. But for every person's case, it's different. I first needed to take time to recover from the hustle and grind of working 80 hours a week for 5 years. I felt so guilty taking time off, though, so I tried out some of the things that I really wanted to do, but it was hard to go at them full force due to my low energy. I did get to nomad a bit and travel the world as I had always dreamed of, but due to my fears and worries, I couldn't really be fully present and enjoy that as much as I had wanted to. I was so worried about my savings running out, regretting leaving medicine and that door closing, never being able to make money again. So many various things that are legit, but I also realize now in hindsight were definitely exaggerated, and some of them a little bit ridiculous. Fear is such a buzzkill, no matter where you are or what you're doing. You can try to stay busy, suppress it, or avoid it, but it'll still hold you back like a blanket of toxic sludge all over your body. The only way to lessen its power is to acknowledge and face it head on. So I recommend these exercises for addressing your fears. Number one, first, think of a change you really deeply want to make in your life. Something you really want to do, something you want to stop doing. Notice what comes up when you think about it. And if fear is one of them, capture all of that onto paper by writing down all the thoughts you have about it until you can't think of any more. They could be all the reasons why it won't work out, why it's a silly or stupid idea, etc. What would other people think? My big change that I'll talk about was quitting being a doctor to become an artist or to pursue my true passions, which I've actually found to be more expansive than just being an artist. And my biggest fears were, number one, failing and not ever being able to make a living doing what I loved, becoming bankrupt and needing to burden others by depending on them. And number two, betraying and losing the love and respect of my family. Being kicked out, disowned, and abandoned just felt like death to me, felt like worse than death to go on living, but to not have anyone I cared about by my side. Just imagining that was so, so painful. And I felt the physical pain in my body too. Number two, for each fear, get down to the root causes of it by asking, why? Why is this so scary to me? If this were true, what would this mean? Maybe about me or about the world. And keep going until you can't keep answering anymore. Imagine you're unearthing or going down another level or peeling back another layer to your fears. What are you really afraid of? Write as much as you need to really thoroughly explore that fear and define exactly what makes it so scary or uncomfortable for you. For me, failing in my passion work means I will never contribute meaningfully to society. It means I was a waste on this planet, worthless, just drained the resources and didn't give back enough. That means I'm a terrible person. And I think losing my family similarly led to that I am a terrible person story and fear. So the root fear under all of my fears was of being a horrible person, I discovered, and also the fear of death, as I had mentioned. Number 3, how true are these fears? How likely are they to actually happen? If you just took yourself out of it and looked at yourself from an objective outsider's point of view. On a scale of 1 to 10, what are the chances of these fears actually coming true? 10 is the most likely, or it's a guaranteed outcome, but you can use whatever scale you want to use that feels good to you. And just notice when there are fallacies or erroneous conclusions for the connections between the deeper fears, and see if you can come up with any reasons to argue the opposite way or play devil's advocate to these. So, for example, for me, for my passion work, never making a livable income. Okay, even if it never did, it doesn't automatically mean that I will have never contributed meaningfully to society. That's kind of ridiculous to make that jump of a conclusion. And arguably, I've already contributed meaningfully from my past career as a doctor, from who I am as a person, to my network, my friends, my family, to this environment. And as long as I continue to try my best, or just try in some capacity, I can impact people and the world, even if it's for free, even if I never make money from it, like with this podcast. Also, quality matters over quantity. If I have meaningfully helped even just one person, which I think I have from feedback, my life was not a waste. So I'd rate that fear as probably a 1 out of 10 likelihood of it actually happening. And that makes it seem a lot less scary. As for making a livable income, define livable and define where you live. For example, where I am in Thailand now is a lot more affordable than living in the US. And well, yes, 99% of businesses fail, but if only 1% of people can get into med school and even less can finish this entire medical training path, why shouldn't I believe that I could possibly be in also the 1% of businesses that succeed too? And how likely is my family actually going to disown me, cut me off, and never want to speak to me again? Not gonna lie, I had a skewed perception before and was flooded with emotions. And I had received threats before that if I don't listen to what they recommended or what they said, like going straight into med school instead of taking a year off to teach English in Japan like I'd wanted to, they said these words to me verbatim, and I remember them clearly. Then if you don't listen, you're going to be all on your own. Don't count us up. Don't count on us for anything. So I would have answered probably an 8 out of 10 back then, but now I can better see more clearly their love for me and rate it much lower, probably a 2 out of 10. But back then, that was the biggest fear of them all. Number 4, how much will you be affected by these fears coming true? Again, on a scale of 1 to 10, how catastrophic will they be if they actually happened? In the worst case scenario, 10 is the most severe. So just close your eyes and imagine them coming true. And is it really the end of the world or as bad as you thought? And on the flip side, how much will you be affected if they didn't come true? What would you have to have done, sacrificed, or held back on in order to avoid this fear? AKA, what is this fear costing you? What is the cost of staying the same? We often don't think about this cost of staying where we are now, only about the risk of doing things or the thing that we've dreamed of doing. And there are risks to every decision. Which one carries the chance for the reward we want more or the outcome we want more? Does our desire for safety override our desire for our dream? Putting it all down onto a chart so that you can see the full picture can be really helpful. And it can help you love your reasons for making your ultimate decision, which can be a yes, I will go for this, or no, not now. I quite like my reasons for not doing it, at least for now. Also, imagine the best possible outcome related to that fear. How happy would it make you from a scale of 1 to 10? What values would that choice or outcome represent? What values would you be living out? I will say humans are remarkably resilient creatures. We recover back to roughly the same stable set point after any event, positive or negative. We often underestimate our ability to cope and overestimate how much something will affect us. Studies have found that after both extremely positive and extremely negative events, such as winning the lottery or becoming disabled after an accident, people recovered to basically their same baseline level of happiness within 2 years. So a bad outcome won't affect you as much as you think. But on the flip side, a good outcome won't either. That's why it's so liberating to detach from all that pressure to make the right decision. If you'll bounce back anyway, why not go for the thing you actually want? I've included in the show notes my custom PDF workbook with a chart that you can fill out for all these questions. You'll just need to join my mailing list. Lastly, take one concrete action today. Oh, number 5, action step recommended exercise. Take that one concrete action to directly confront and fight one of your fears. Actions often help us feel better, studies have found, rather than remaining paralyzed or deep in our anxious thoughts. Even if we don't believe we can do it, sometimes just starting to do something helps us build that belief in ourselves. And then we want to do it even more. But people think that they have to wait for some great, powerful wave of desire and motivation to do something to overcome the inertia of not starting, and to wait until they feel confident to do it before they do it. And because of that, we might end up waiting forever. But if we just start even with the tiniest step forward we can think of, it starts building that momentum a bit. And your desire for it and belief in it can build up too from taking that action. So the little chart cycle, people think that it starts with want to do something, belief you can do it, and then you do it. But it's actually a lot of times you do it first, and then you realize you can do it, and then you want to do it more and more. So starting with a small fear, or perhaps breaking down a big fear into a smaller, more manageable one, try taking some action on it today if you can, or tomorrow, or this week. Even if you don't take that action, breaking it down will make it seem a lot less scary. For my case, to counteract my fear of never contributing meaningfully to society, I decided I will collect some feedback of the difference I've made in other people's lives to remind myself when I'm feeling down or doubtful to keep on going. For counteracting the fear of burdening others because I won't make enough to take care of myself, I saved up a large cushion of savings, or I like to call it life tuition, set aside for figuring life out, and also applied for some backup plans like side hustles in writing, editing, tutoring, and even watching videos and surveys online for money if I really needed to. To counteract the abandonment fear by my family, I chose to seek out and build a network of chosen family, close friends who've been through similar things and who get it, truly see, hear, understand, and support me. So the loneliness wouldn't be so jarring if I really was disowned and cut off from my family. Doing something about these fears and making backup plans upon backup plans really helped reassure me personally and make it all seem a bit less scary. So, what I'm trying to say is that what you really want, who you truly are, is worth fighting for. It's worth everything. It might be the hardest thing we'll ever do. And fear is a big common obstacle that gets in the way. And this episode is dedicated to fear and recommendations for how to digest it, metabolize it, face it, and overcome it, or at least shrink it a little bit back down to its proper place. Because when you realize just who exactly you are, when you finally know what lights you up, what motivates you, what brings meaning to your one short, precious life, there's nothing quite like it. There's such sheer excitement, joy, exhilaration. But of course, there's probably also terror too. You might think, oh my gosh, to be truly me means doing all these crazy, scary things, taking these big, scary leaps. No way I can do that. Ah! If you're one of the lucky ones who happen to already be living authentically, aligned with your values, and feeling good about your life, that's amazing. Self-realization isn't that drastic for everybody. But if something does feel off, though, chances are that episode 3's questions helped you unearth something new about you, about your values, your dreams, desires, wishes, needs, visions, and mission. So I hope that was helpful. This concludes today's episode. As always, I welcome you to share your thoughts and responses with me, and I'd love to hear from you, particularly if you have questions or differing viewpoints. If you want support organizing, managing, or overcoming your fears, you can book a call with me. I'm always happy to chat about these topics, give you personalized feedback on your situation, and point you towards recommended support and resources. If it's a good fit, I might invite you to work together in a longer term container where we can slowly poke holes in all of your fears so that you can just go do the thing already that you've been wanting to do, whether it's travel the world, fall in love, build a career that's truly meaningful to you, or anything else your heart yearns for. It's unrealistic to expect to banish fear completely. Courage doesn't mean an absence of fear. It means being able to take action towards what we want despite feeling a whole lot of fear, or deciding that something else is more important than that fear. A truly fearless person would probably be a psychopath or a sociopath. Being human means that we have this whole range of emotions, worries, and the common sense to worry about worst case scenarios. But we don't have to allow them to paralyze us and keep us boxed in forever, or to keep us from expressing our true selves or living the life that we truly want to live. Accepting our fears is part of accepting ourselves. When we can accept them, invite them in to chat with us, vent to us, and tell us all of their worries, we can see them more clearly and put them into their proper place. Instead of letting fear drive our car, we can gently take the wheel and gently put fear into the back seat or the trunk or the passenger seat. Know that they're there, thank them for the messages they're trying to tell us and warn us about, because they have good intentions. Give them some toys to placate them, like the backup plans, and then turn our attention back to where we truly want to go. Let's accept and then achieve. See you next week.